On October 3rd, 2017, iDubbbz uploaded a content cop on Ricegum. He titled the content cop a Jake Paul content cop, but it turned out that he was actually making a content cop on Ricegum, but he explained that he didn't want to give Ricegum the extra publicity, so he put Jake Paul in the title instead. Now, iDubbbz's content cops are very unique in the sense that content cops have a reputation of really either destroying channels or at least damaging them a lot. Maybe his content cops don't quite destroy channels, but they do seem to have a negative effect on channels that can be quite difficult to recover from. As you can see, the previous content cop, done in February on Tana Mojo, has indeed affected her channel. At first, it caused her to start to lose a few subscribers. Pretty soon, she was able to gain subscribers again, but she is no longer gaining subscribers nearly as fast as she was before the content cop. So why are content cops so powerful, and what gives iDubbbz the power to damage channels that nobody else on YouTube seems to have? Well, for one thing, iDubbbz is very selective in who he targets for a content cop. Sometimes you hear about a YouTuber whom a lot of people criticize, and everyone jumps on the bandwagon and criticizes this person, even when this person may not deserve the criticism. But iDubbbz usually doesn't jump on any bandwagons. Instead, when he makes a content cop, he makes sure that the person who is content copped actually deserves it. And he always shows you why this person really does deserve to be content copped. That way, iDubbbz doesn't have a reputation, like Onision does, of just being a bully. Also, iDubbbz has never said that he is trying to damage anyone's channels using a content cop. He also does not tell people to go and unsubscribe from people's channels. However, this always happens. In fact, for 3 days, Ricegum had lost a little bit more than 50,000 subscribers total after the content cop came out. Now, this could affect his channel long term, as we have seen has happened with Tana Mojo's channel. Ricegum did make a response video. Now, this video, Ricegum's response to iDubbbz's content cop, was not nearly as well received as Ricegum was hoping it was going to be. As you can see, it currently has 167,000 more dislikes than likes. Now, it's very hard to respond to one of iDubbbz's content cops because, like I said before, iDubbbz usually makes sure that the person actually does deserve it, and he usually does a pretty thorough job of explaining why you deserve to be content copped. One YouTuber, Wild Spartans, recommended that Ricegum not respond at all because sometimes responding to a content cop can backfire. After all, that's what happened to Leafy. He tried to respond to a content cop, and it probably ended up hurting him. But in Ricegum's case, I don't think Ricegum had any choice. And that's because Ricegum actually openly asked iDubbbz to create a content cop. He did this in a video, and then he did so later this February on Twitter. And in Ricegum's response video, he even acknowledged that he wanted a content cop to be made on him.
Ever since he dropped that video, I've been getting a ton of hate. I've been seeing comments like, Rice, it's over. You can't come back after this. Just give up. There's no point. And even if that was the case, even if it was over, my career is over, like, I owe it to my true fans to just put up a fight. I can't just sit here and not reply. So ever since he dropped his Ricegum exposed video or whatever, I've been losing subs, getting dislikes, everyone's saying my career is falling off, all this stuff, and funny enough, I'm the one that asked for this. You would think I'm like kind of scared, trying to lay low a little bit, but no guys, like I'm not nervous, I'm not scared at all. I actually kind of, I don't really, I made that video a year ago when YouTube was like dead and I was just trying to stir up some controversy. But it's about time, man, you know, it took a year, but I finally got my content cop.
So like I said before, although there were people that were advising Rice not to respond at all, I do think that he had no choice because back when he challenged iDubbbz to make a content cop, he promised that if iDubbbz did make a content cop, he would respond and he would also drop the most awesome diss track that would, I guess, just destroy iDubbbz. So Ricegum would feel like he's backing down if he didn't at least try to respond, even if his response might have ended up backfiring in the long run. As far as I know, Ricegum is the only big YouTuber that has openly asked for a content cop. If you know of any other big YouTuber that has done so, please let me know in the comments. I'd be interested. Onision has come close to doing this because Onision has made several videos that seem to be taunting iDubbbz into making a content cop, but Onision has stated that he doesn't want a content cop made on him, unlike Ricegum, who openly said that he wants a content cop made on him. So why would Rice openly ask for a content cop? Well, there's the more obvious explanation that Rice was hoping that a content cop would give his channel more exposure and more publicity and perhaps make his channel even bigger than it already is. And I'm sure that that's part of the reason, but I think there's another reason as well. I used to be a fan of Ricegum's back in early 2016. Not a huge fan, but I liked him. And I particularly liked the diss tracks he made about Taylor Kniff. However, his channel grew very quickly, and it seemed to me that Ricegum really allowed fame to get to his head. And he seemed to have developed this attitude that he is invincible. He's now 20 years old, and he seems to think that he's invincible, in part because he's become so famous so quickly. And I think that he asked for a content cop because he thinks that he's invincible, and he thinks that he's the only person who can somehow have a content cop made on him and not suffer any repercussions for it. So I simply think that it's hubris that really caused Ricegum to actually want a content cop made on him and to openly say that he wants a content cop made on him. Of all the things in the content cop response, I think maybe what Ricegum handled the best was the rape comments issue. Last year, it came out that Ricegum, during a live stream while he was guessing this girl, when she had mentioned that she had been raped, he said, well, did it feel good? And later on, he asked her if she sued, and she said she didn't, and Ricegum said, see, you can rape this girl and she won't sue. Now, these comments were obviously very insensitive, and Ricegum did actually apologize to the girl, and in this content cop response, he actually got the girl to come to his house, and he also took her to some places around Los Angeles, and she had since forgiven him, and he apologized again and said that, he really cringes when he sees that he did that, and he said that it was a long time ago. And this doesn't totally erase the damage that this caused, but I would say from a damage control perspective, he probably did the best he could at minimizing the damage that this caused to him. I think, however, the rest of his response video wasn't very good, in part because a lot of times he completely ignored many of the points iDubbbz made. It's almost as if Rice was hoping that people would not notice that he ignored and left out a lot of things, a lot of important things that iDubbbz talked about. For example, iDubbbz talked about the whole situation with him and Gabby that happened earlier this year.
We're going to talk about the Gabby situation, and if you're not familiar with it, I'll bring you up to speed. These two are attending a party together. She goes up to him with Snapchat in hand and says, I challenge you to a freestyle. She's pestering him. She says, you don't have your ghostwriter here, do you, bitch? He's obviously quite scared. So he does the only thing that he thinks he can do.
I had two options that night. I could have walked away and looked like a bitch, or I could have did something about it, and I did something about it. I grabbed her phone and I smashed it. I was like, enough is enough, you little stupid bitch. I smashed her phone.
Only two options. That's it. That's all he has. There isn't a third option that got swept under the rug, and that's to play along with it. There isn't even an infinite number of options that allow you to do any number of things that don't make you look like an asshole or a pussy.
I can't just sit there and look like a bitch.
If you are ever so terrified of being put in an improvisational situation that you smash someone's phone for fear of looking like a bitch, you sort of automatically just look like a bitch.
I had two options that night. I could have walked away and looked like a bitch, or I could have did something about it.
It's like he's describing the thought process of a wounded an animal or a caveman, I either run away or I smash. Those are the two options.
Enough is enough, you little stupid bitch. I smashed their phone.
If you're a comedian, if all your videos are jokes, the first thing that comes to your mind is, how can I turn this into a joke? Nope. You got the ape brain.
I can't just sit there and look like a bitch.
I just want to mention as a side note that when he was on Drama Alert, he had said that when you go to these YouTuber parties, it's understood that you don't bring out your phone and you don't film people really without their permission.
These YouTuber parties, people know to not take out phones.
Or you ask permission.
People do film at those parties, and you filmed at those parties. Filming's fine when people are okay with it. You weren't okay with it because you got bamboozled. Would you guys like to hear the juiciest bit of hypocrisy?
Probably shouldn't have threw her phone. But I mean, if you're gonna record me at a party when I'm off guard. This girl literally came up to me in person, didn't ask me, hey Rice, do you mind if I vlog? She just came up to me, camera already on, and I was so unexpected.
It kind of sounds like he doesn't like being recorded without his consent. How interesting.
No, but I'm not streaming though, I just wanted to call you.
Oh, you're not?
No, I just wanted to call you and just talk. Now people are like, hey, Ricegum was streaming, he fooled you, don't trust him. Fuck out of here, you snitches, man. I would've got nudes, bro, but y'all was really fucking up my tempo. I don't even know why I even lied, bro. Fucking people snitch way too much.
So there are several points I want to make on this. First of all, back when this whole situation happened, I actually made a video. And I pointed out that what Ricegum did was he actually committed a robbery. At the time, most people were focusing on whether he hit Gabby or not, but the fact is, even if he did hit Gabby, at most that would have been, legally speaking, a misdemeanor battery charge. That's because Gabby was not seriously injured, and the only way a battery charge could be a felony is if the person was seriously injured. However, what robbery is robbery, by definition, is the taking of someone's property using force or the threat of force. By forcing the phone out of Gabby's hand and smashing it to the ground, Ricegum actually committed a robbery. So, irregardless of whether he hit her or not, and that's what everybody was focusing on, Ricegum did commit the more serious crime of robbery. Now, iDubbbz's did not bring up the fact that this was technically a robbery. However, he did not focus on whether he hit Gabby or not. People like Keemstar took Ricegum's side at the time, and incidentally, Keemstar also took Ricegum's side after this content cop was made. But iDubbbz's instead focused on whether he really needed to take Gabby's phone away from her and smash it to the ground, as Ricegum claimed that he needed to do. But Ricegum really didn't respond to this. In fact, this is all Ricegum said in response.
Basically, he's calling me a hypocrite because I don't like to be filmed without consent, but then again, I film other people. I'm not streaming though, I just wanted to call you.
Oh, you're not?
No, I just wanted to call you and just talk. But bro, there's a difference, alright? Like, coming up to someone and filming them and then, me being like, yo, could you not? And they keep going. It's completely different from me 2 years ago, live streaming, and someone asked me, am I live? And I'm just like, no. Just so they're just more natural, because as soon as they know they're live, they're gonna start acting weird and all awkward. And I just thought it would be funny if they're just more natural.
That's literally Ricegum's only response. He doesn't bring up the Gabby Show's name. He doesn't talk about the situation with the Gabby Show, except to say that she was filming her without his consent, and he's claiming that what he was doing was not as bad when he put people on stream without their consent. Well, I would argue that that's not really true. Because, first of all, when you put somebody on stream without their consent, and I see other people doing this, like I see people streaming people on Omegle who don't know they're being broadcasted, and I do think that's unethical, and I do think that that's actually illegal in most states. But when Ricegum does that, that's actually worse, I think, than when Gabby came up to him and started recording him for Snapchat stories, because at the very least, Ricegum knew that he was being recorded. She made it clear that she was recording a Snapchat story. I do think that iDubbbz's had some very valid points when he said that it was totally unnecessary for Ricegum to take Gabby's camera and smash it, and Ricegum completely ignored that. This is interesting because when the whole situation happened, Ricegum made response videos and even made at least one diss track on Gabby in response to it, and he was willing to talk about the situation on Drama Alert and on Scarce, but when iDubbbz's brings up some very valid points, Ricegum just tries to completely ignore it. The thing is, when the whole thing happened, most people were focusing on whether Ricegum had hit her or not, but iDubbbz isn't focusing on that. He's saying that his violent reaction of taking her phone and smashing it was unnecessary, and Ricegum doesn't really seem to have a response to that. In fact, he just wants you to forget that the whole thing even happened. And I think that that's part of the problem with Ricegum's response to iDubbbz, is that he often just doesn't even have a response to much of what iDubbbz has said. He also goes on to claim that iDubbbz is a hypocrite because iDubbbz recorded Ricegum at VidCon, and he said that this was done without his consent. Well, the truth is that's not true, because when you get a ticket to VidCon, you actually agree that anybody can record you there, and they don't have to give you your consent. So in other words, when you go to VidCon, you actually consent to being recorded, and that includes Ricegum. The thing is, at VidCon, pretty much everybody is recording something, it seems like, and so for that reason, they make everybody agree that everybody gives consent to being recorded. So it's actually not the same thing at all, because recording Ricegum at VidCon is not against the law, since Ricegum actually consented to being recorded. It's also not unethical, since, like I said, everybody consents to being recorded when they go to VidCon. Another aspect about the Gabby situation is that it seemed like Ricegum wasn't all that unhappy about being recorded by Gabby until she mentioned his ghostwriter. At first, when Gabby said, "Hey Ricegum, let's have a rap battle," Ricegum was just sort of playing along saying, "Let's," and then he's like, "Nah." But then, when Gabby said something like, "Oh well, I guess Rice doesn't have his ghostwriter with him," that's when Rice got really angry, and that seemed to be what caused Rice to grab her phone and smash it. iDubbbz also brought up the fact that Ricegum uses a ghostwriter, but Ricegum denied this, saying that it's just a rumor.
And you still probably have the ghostwriter on payroll. You have nothing to be boastful about, you fucking moron.
And here we go using the P word again. Probably, which means it's not a fact, it's just, probably. I'm sick of this, man. All this ghostwriter stuff was allegations. Like, there were no proof of, people keep trying to take away credit for me. I'm sick of it, bro. I really am. People are just really trying to find ways to hate on me. Now I'm actually mad. At first I was kind of mad, but right now I'm actually mad. Let's go!
It does seem to make Ricegum pretty angry whenever somebody brings up his ghostwriter. However, when Ricegum says that the fact that Ricegum has used a ghostwriter is just an allegation, that's simply not true. In fact, Ricegum actually admitted to using the diss rapper as a ghostwriter while live on stream.
How you even think that you gave Rice an L? You're at 100K, yeah, my nigga had a mill gone.
Hey, that shit slap, bro. That Trace the Call shit is so funny, bro. Bro, that Trace the Call shit is so funny. Bro, that Trace the Call shit is so fucking funny, dude. I gotta steal, dude. I'm gonna ask if I can steal that, bro. That shit is so funny. Bro, that Tracer Call shit was so funny. Yo, this fool is hella fun. Yo, I'm gonna put it. Yo, everyone drop a like on this shit and sub. This is my ghostwriter, bro. Dude, I'm gonna steal that for sure, bro. That shit's. This is my ghostwriter, bro.
So there you have it. Ricegum himself actually said that he has a ghostwriter, so the claims that he has a ghostwriter are more than just allegations. Also, there are things that iDubbbz could have put in his content cop, but he didn't. Like, he could have put the fact that Ricegum was caught viewbotting back in 2014 on Twitch in his content cop, but he didn't. Another thing that irks me a little bit is that Ricegum on Twitter states in his profile, Brian Lee, 8.5 million subscribers on YouTube, I follow back. But as you can see, he doesn't really follow back because he has over 2,276,000 followers, but he's only following 3,719 people. If you're not going to follow people back, why lie and say that you are? I also dislike it when people tweet out, retweet this for a follow, and then they don't actually follow the people who retweet them. And Ricegum has done this as well. So, all in all, Ricegum's response to iDubbbz's content cop was pretty weak. But on the other hand, there's really not much you can do to respond to a content cop, because iDubbbz, like I said earlier, does do a very good job of making sure that the people whom he content cops are people who deserve to be content copped, and Ricegum fits into this category. Because Ricegum actually did ask for this content cop, I would say that he pretty much had no choice to respond, since he promised that he would respond if he was content copped. On the other hand, you could argue that this response pretty much did end up backfiring on Ricegum. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon for notifications, and together we shall take over the world. I upload 6 to 8 videos a month. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ZorkMid123 and watch me live on YouNow at ZorkMid123.